We received quite the surprise today when we found out that Gina Carano is suing the Walt Disney Company, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Huckleberry Productions. And guess who's paying for the lawsuit? None other than Elon Musk. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell. I'm an investigative reporter for That Park Place. And with me, as always, is Mr. Vash Sky. Vash, how are you doing, man?
I am doing very, very well. Thank you so much, Jonas. I had to reach out for my my attorney glasses today because, oh man, do we have a juicy one here in California.
Yes, and I wish that we had all the time in the world, but we are preparing because guess what? Valiant Renegade is streaming tonight at 6 p.m. I hope that we have this video up before then, but if not, forgive us. We are going to go through the facts as they have been presented by Ms. Gina Carano. First of all, let's talk about this tweet. This one from the Twitters. Today is an important day for me. I am filing a lawsuit against Lucasfilm and Disney after my 20 years. This is Gina Carano speaking, for those of you who can't see the screen. After my 20 years of building a career from scratch and during the regime of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek, Lucasfilm made this statement on Twitter, terminating me from The Mandalorian. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. Nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is I was being hunted down from everything I posted to every post I liked because I was not in line with the acceptable narrative of the time. My words were consistently twisted to demonize and dehumanize me as an alt-right-wing extremist. It was a bullying smear campaign aimed at silencing, destroying, and making an example out of me. This tweet is amazing. We're going to jump around just a little bit because we've got a lot to cover. A couple of months ago, Elon Musk tweeted that if you had been fired from using the platform X for exercising your right to free speech, he would like to offer these people legal representation. Quite the noble offer, but never in my wildest dreams would I have thought anyone would take on my case against Lucasfilm and Disney. Still, I did respond back. I think I qualify, and thousands of people agreed, but I did not expect anything. To my surprise, a few months ago, I received an email from a lawyer who'd been hired by X to look into my story and many others. Turns out, after sending them as much information as I could gather these past few months, my now lawyers and X believe wholeheartedly in my case and are moving forward. I would like to express my deepest gratitude and thank you to Elon Musk and X for giving me an opportunity to bring my case to light. And there's some information about how to contact anyone for this lawsuit. But let's get over to the lawsuit itself. So this, filed in the Central District of California, it is a federal lawsuit. Gina Carano v. the Walt Disney Company, Lucasfilm Ltd., and Huckleberry Industries US Inc. If I had to guess, I would say that Huckleberry Industries is probably the production shingle that was set up in order to make The Mandalorian. That's a nice Western-sounding name, perhaps a callback to one of the greatest Westerns ever made, that being Tombstone. Vash, before we get into the nature of the case and the complaints by the defendant against the plaintiff, I know that's usually not where you're starting a lawsuit. You have any comments here?
Well, this is unbelievably fascinating. I was a little bit late to this story, as I think you guys learned about it in real time on the Pro Show earlier. This is absolutely remarkable, and it's very interesting. It's a very interesting lawsuit if you kind of read it briefly. Unfortunately, we're on a little bit of a time constraint, so we won't be able to go over all the lawsuit anyway. But looking into it a little bit, it seems well drafted, and it seems it lays out a story here, which we didn't necessarily have details about going into it, which I think they're just fascinating. It basically lays out this idea, if you read between the lines a little bit, that Lucasfilm as a division of the Walt Disney Company has been engaging in this kind of controversy laundering almost, where they leak out a little bit of stories to make her look bad, or they highlight something, they foment that controversy, and then act on that controversy. Right? We've been seeing this a lot, and it looks like this is kind of what this is detailing out here. And then they use that controversy as grounds to remove her. Well, that puts you in some legal hot water, especially in California, as we'll go over.
Yes. So in this case, Gina Carano made some social media posts that were not directly political, but they were perceived as political, and people came after her online. And how did Lucasfilm react? Well, let's talk about that. Starting on page 26 of the lawsuit, the defendants engage in harassment of their own. However, and forgive me here, we're skipping ahead in the context here. However, like her online abusers, defendants, that being Lucasfilm, Huckleberry, and Disney, were not satisfied. They subjected Carano to long phone calls demanding an explanation and criticizing her for not embracing what some see as mandatory solidarity with a vocal element of the transgender activist community. Even when she expressed that the defendants' demands were excessive and asked for some time away from constant meetings, defendants refused, demanding that she continue with her re-education program. Defendants even required Carano to meet with representatives of GLAAD, the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination, a national organization that promotes LGBTQ plus acceptance, something she willingly did. Carano had a very positive discussion with two of their representatives during a 90-minute Zoom meeting, even reviewing several documentaries that they asked her to watch. Upon information and belief, the representatives of GLAAD with whom she spoke provided positive feedback to the defendants from their discussion. Even so, defendants continued to demand a public apology, finding the above social media statements insufficient. Defendants went so far as to try and convince Carano's publicist to force Carano to issue a statement admitting to mocking or insulting an entire group of people, which Carano had never done. So they were, in Gina Carano's belief, they were trying to ask her to lie and say that she had said something that she didn't say.
Yeah, and that part about that compelled speech right there. That's a that you don't want to be doing that now. That doesn't make you look good.
Yeah, after she refused to issue the statement defendants demanded, the defendants rejected Carano's proposed alternate statement. Defendants increased their harassment of Carano, and we get to hear more about the harassment here. As a sign of good faith, Carano went to go donate to a GoFundMe page allegedly set up in support of the transgender community. When she opened the link, she read that the fund was supposedly created by a Lucasfilm creative and was directly targeting Carano, defaming her by accusing her of being a bigoted actress. There's no direct note here as to who that executive was, but it says here that Carano did not donate to the link. Carano brought this to Lucasfilm's attention, who denied the GoFundMe account was established by any Lucasfilm employee. Shortly thereafter, the account was changed to call Carano ignorant, and the identity of the organizer was changed to no longer identify a Lucasfilm employee. To Carano's knowledge, no employee was disciplined for their public harassment of Carano. Defendants nevertheless communicated to Carano's publicist that they were going to require Carano to participate in a Zoom call with Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy and 45 employees who identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, going so far as to say that her willingness to endure such harassment and humiliation was a litmus test for her. That sounds a lot like a struggle session in which everyone gets to tell you that you are evil.
Correct. Yes. So this is them acting on this controversy and attempting to put the pressure on here. Either she will relent and apologize and do what they want, or she'll be forcibly removed, which is apparently what they're doing right here. But it's interesting to see who gets involved here and who's named by name. And line 82 right there, I believe references it.
Yes, the public was encouraged to, the publicist was encouraged to explain that the group was a friendly group that wanted Gina to succeed, even though several had contributed to the anti-Carano GoFundMe account, including filmmaker Leslie Headland, who was scheduled to produce a Star Wars production, that being from Blue Stockings, the production company in charge of making The Acolyte, which has yet to come out. And we're hearing lots of interesting things about that one.
Oh, are we now? We'll have to talk backstage there.
No.
Well,
it's the first Lucasfilm production that has an intimacy coordinator in it, for one. And it looks like this one will be pushing the envelope as far as ideology. We have yet to see once that one hits the light of day. We don't know what the production entails there, but they do have a intimacy coordinator for at least eight episodes, and you only need those for scenes that involve people in compromising positions.
Yeah, it's worked out so well before. Let's go ahead and throw a little lovemaking into the action there.
Yeah.
That's just awesome. But Leslie Headland, though, I mean, we have heard, rumors and speculation about where she falls in terms of this whole ideologically perspective and how it affects the content and so forth. But you can see how it affects her decision making right here, where she actually attacks a fellow colleague through their GoFundMe.
Right, and of course, Leslie Headland would have a lot of experience with bullying, as she was a scheduling coordinator and a personal assistant to Mr. Harvey Weinstein.
Oh yeah.
Um, so she might have some experience in what bullying is like in that way. The purpose was clear, though. To return to the document, Carano had to grow and learn, and defendants wanted to know where her mindset is currently with regard to controversy over pronouns. Until then, they were not going to allow her to speak to the media or include her in any promotions. That is, of course, speaking out about public promotion of productions, not like they were going to advance her to senior actress in charge of other actresses or something ridiculous like that. Carano declined to be subjected to the Zoom meeting with 45 other people, but did offer to take 5 or 6 to dinner so they could talk face to face. Defendants refused the offer. Given defendants' ongoing harassment, Carano let defendants know that perhaps she needed to get legal counsel to help resolve the issue. Thereafter, defendants changed course and decided to require Carano to take media training. Accordingly, by September 25th, 2020, defendants' harassment of Carano was in full swing, with the launch of season 2 of The Mandalorian right around the corner. This is Gina Carano talking about the 2020 election. And oh my. This looks like a death threat right here that was sent to her. Yikes. Someone implying that the Mandalorian writer's room had it out for Gina, not just on a career standpoint, but a existing standpoint.
It would appear so.
Right. And the idea that people who were going after Moses Ingram, but for some reason they didn't show up to defend Gina Carano from vile attacks.
And apparently she has an email. She has an email from somebody at Lucasfilm in which describes that they've been monitoring the hashtag Fire Gina Carano. So the whole idea that they don't actually monitor the social media activity is completely bogus, assuming that email is correct.
Yep. Oh, here we go. Even with Carano's star rising, and by the way, there's a lot in here about all of the reasons that Gina Carano's career was on the rise. It's amazing, and just anecdotally, my wife loved watching this show specifically because of Gina Carano and Baby Yoda. Disney had achieved something that was unachievable. You get a woman who's not that interested in Star Wars. She's seen lots of Star Wars, but you have a show that my daughter loves and my wife love to watch. And after they fired Gina Carano and said that they hate Gina Carano, I think maybe they killed the most successful Star Wars brand that they've created since 2012. So.
Yeah, and this is really bad on a number of levels, even just outside Gina Carano. I mean, obviously we know that Carl Weathers has just passed away, which obviously had a huge influence over that show, his character, and how he interacted with the Mandalorian. That's going to be a hole that needs to be filled. We know that with Rangers of the New Republic, because they had fired her. The whole arc of season 3 had to be pivoted in order to incorporate those things, that other events that they probably have planned to take that are planned to take place actually makes sense. With Gina Carano specifically, she was on the rise, right? She had like a bit part in Deadpool in the original, and she was able to parlay that into success via Star Wars, which gave her just a huge platform. People were able to really finally see her acting chops and really resonated with that character. To throw that out, this controversy hasn't gone away. In fact, this lawsuit is detailing that it's only escalating further.
Yes, agreed, absolutely. Let's continue on. Even with Carano's star rising, defendants continue to harbor animosity against Carano for her political beliefs. On January 8th, 2021, Carano was inadvertently sent an email by Lynn Hale of Lucasfilm explaining that defendants were consumed with some on social media calling for Disney to fire Carano. They monitored the hashtag, meaning a string of related posts calling on Disney to fire Gina Carano. Hale's email was the most recent in a string of emails that began with Disney CEO Chapek's statement on the events of January 6th. There was a significant backlash to Chapek's statement, including harsh criticism of Disney for doing business with China, given the country's extensive human rights abuses and internment camps for the indigenous Uyghur people. Yet very quickly, the focus of the emails turned to Carano, as some on social media chose to insert calls to fire Carano in responses to Chapek's online statement. Rather than focus on the criticism of Disney's business dealings in China, Disney instead was going to prepare a report on Carano, which Hale recommended start by saying that she didn't do anything to support the riots on DC. Of course, Carano had nothing to do with the events of January 6th. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. I even have to say that.
Now it's, that's the meme, right? Is what were you doing on that day? They're just kind of putting it in there like, look, she has nothing to do with this, but we bring this up because it's part of a larger context. And I do agree. I mean, the company was pivoting hard around this time to relieve itself of any right-wing influence, let's say.
It was apparent that Chapek and his team were looking for ways to deflect from his failed leadership as Disney CEO. I think, they're going after Chapek here in a way that if Bob Iger wants to save face, maybe this is a good opportunity. You could bring Gina Carano back, including the failed contract dispute with Scarlett Johansson. January 12th, Carano posted an interview she gave where she asked about the controversy surrounding her. She was asked about the controversy around her. The interview clearly demonstrates that she was not seeking to denigrate anyone, but chose to speak up because there was a large group of people that were being silenced and conversations were not happening. And because of her belief that discussion is good, she was not seeking a political platform, but believed that discussing issues makes everyone better. She also understands that simply speaking up made her a punching bag. Man, I would agree with that.
I would agree.
All this occurred while Lucasfilm was publicly supporting Christina Ariel and her declaration that all white people are racist. Whoa. Indeed, defendants were even publicly claimed that people should speak their mind based on their conscience. Of course, when Carano did so, defendants targeted her because her conscience did not align with their ideology.
Yeah, that's an interesting line right there, too, because we've been saying, hey, maybe not have your actors or actresses or talent or creatives or so forth kind of speak their mind so publicly. Let's have them go ahead and restrain themselves. In fact, this lawsuit is detailing that they were encouraged to speak their mind. And yet, if you speak the wrong way, well, then you are outing yourself as a target for their ire. Go ahead, Jonas.
This is amazing, and we don't have time to go over the entire 59 pages of this lawsuit, so we're going to skip ahead here, and we'll probably cover more here on this channel, on Valiant Renegade, on the WDW Pro channel. But here's the prayer for relief. This is what she's asking for. Right. Preliminary and permanent injunctive relief requiring defendants to reinstate Gina Carano to her prior position with no loss of pay or benefits. She wants her job back. A judgment declaring that the defendant's termination of Carano's employment was unlawful and in violation of California law. She wants them to admit it. Compensatory damages in excess of $75,000. By the way, 150 to 250 per episode. Not to mention the Rangers of the New Republic series that she might have been the lead on. Oh, here we go. Compensatory damages for the loss of future employment, including but not limited to the promised role in Rangers of the New Republic in an amount to be determined at trial. Emotional distress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For one, I don't think that this is a lawsuit that is really centered on the money. And if Disney fights this, they're foolish because the idea of paying for a lawyer is immaterial because Elon Musk is paying for the lawsuit. He's a man with deep pocketbooks to the point where we're wondering if he might drop a cool $10 billion in order to ruin Bob Iger's day and give him even more of a hard time here. Vash, do you have any thoughts here on that?
Well, he's definitely giving him a hard time right now. I mean, as a victim of the legal process, as of late, especially in Delaware with that chancellor judge. Oh man, that's really something right there. Anyway, as we know from her opinion, he's really rich or whatever. He understands the what is the benefit of suing and taking your case to court and how damaging that could be, how you air out dirty laundry and so forth. And this feels like a multifaceted attack. Am I right, Jonas?
Yes,
I mean, you're seeing Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
on was it Friday or was it Saturday that Elon Musk was on the red carpet with Nelson Peltz and winked as he looked back and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm just here with some of my friends," and he kind of looks over his shoulder at where Nelson Peltz is, and then he said, "Thinking about companies to acquire," and he winks essentially at the camera or makes some face that is it was an awkward face. I'm going to say that it was an awkward face, but looked like a wink. So. And there is no coincidence that the shareholders call is Wednesday. So not knowing when this video is going to be coming out, that could be tomorrow, that could be today, but my goodness, there is a lot going on here. I highly suggest that you come to our live stream on Thursday at noon because we'll be talking about even more news. We decided not to cover the other earth-shattering news that will be affecting the media industry for years to come. So yeah, stay tuned here for that. Vash, you have anything else to say before we wrap this thing up?
Yes, we'll probably go into it a little bit more on Thursday or any of these subsequent live streams that we have leading up to and surrounding the earnings call. But it's interesting, filing it in California. I mean, obviously, there's a mandated venue, depending on where the greetings actually originated from. But California enacted some very robust laws in order to prevent people from getting fired for ideological purposes, especially in Hollywood, where, as you know, in the 1940s and 50s and so forth, the Red Scare, right? That's
Right.
where a lot of those laws and provisions and safeguards and protections come from. So it's interesting that they really keyed in on that. She's being sued for. She is suing for wrongful discharge, and refusal to hire, sex discrimination, right? And she's asking for.
Yes. There are some great. Carl Weathers is mentioned in this exchange in a great way. By the way, I agree with the tweet from Carl Weathers that's in this lawsuit. We'll be talking a lot more about this very soon. And I hate to cut everything off, but
please,
guys, like this video. If you like this video, share it out. If you know somebody who wants to hear our opinions on this matter, and of course, we would love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. And of course, subscribe to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.